Hey guys, welcome to my podcast. My name is Jim Brown, and this is Man, I Hope It's True. And today we have Mr. Gary Chapman.
None of it's true.
None of it's true.
No,
None of it's true.
It's all vicious rumors.
Well,
For the last 48 years now, since I've been in this town.
Okay, all right. It's all vicious. So, where are the bodies buried? Can you tell us that?
I cannot, but I know they're dead.
Oh man, wow, Gary Chapman. I mean, where do we start with that?
De Leon, Texas? No, Waurika, Oklahoma. That's where I started. I was actually born in Oklahoma. I grew up in Texas, so you're a Texan when you're a Texan, so that never leaves. But I grew up. I was born in a little town called Waurika. It's 12 miles from the border, from the Red River. And I tell people I was clinging to the uterine wall. You can make it, Mama. You can make it. And she did not. So, yeah, I was born in Waurika, Oklahoma.
I was expecting you to say something. I was born a poor
black child.
A poor black man in Tupelo, Mississippi.
No, I wish I had been. I could groove if that was the case.
You have a little rhythm?
Yeah. I wouldn't clap on 1 and 3.
Oh, man. So, what's been going on in your world lately?
Lately, I'm writing more than I ever did in my life. People ask me, do you still write? And I was like, yeah, can you help me? I don't know how to quit. It's not what I do. It's who I am.
It's a passion.
And that's been an amazing thing, honestly. It's really incredible. I blame God for all the good ones.
Yeah.
And these days they're all good.
Hey.
It's an amazing thing. He's definitely dropping songs on me that I believe are actually important for this time we're living in. Yeah.
So, what genre are you writing?
Well,
mostly
he writes mostly Christian songs. They musically they lean country for the most part. That's kind of my default position as far as what I enjoy. I have quite a few more than 3 chords in most of my songs, but they're all true. So I've got half of it down.
Oh.
3 chords in the truth is what I'm told. But yeah, I love stories, and living them and telling them has been my life. That's it.
Isn't that funny that you said they lean country? Isn't that funny how that when you and I were younger in the industry, we had rock and roll, we had southern rock, we had just country music.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a southern country and northern country, it was just country music.
Well, first there was country and western, and then there
then you had western swing and that sort of thing. But it was just pretty much when you had country music on the radio, it was just country music.
Yeah.
Well, now they drop rock, southern rock, and it all kind of, they can label it whatever they want to label it, but it's all, under the country music genre.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, and I'm hoping that some of these younger country new artists are going to kind of help define the difference.
It's being done.
Yeah.
It's being done. I've watched, from my vantage point, again, over decades, I've seen the arc 3 times now. We're starting the 4th. We tend to country music at its core is storytelling. It's great stories well told, and then somebody will have a big hit. Somebody, doesn't matter who it is, there will be one. Then most of the town starts trying to do that.
Oh yeah, I heard.
And then the quality degrades because it all starts sounding derivative and repetitive and all the ifs that I hate. And then somebody will have another hit, and it's like, oh, we should all do that. Everybody sound like achy breaky. Whatever it is, it happens. And these days, I think we're not actually repeating the cycle. I think we're repeating the decade. The 90s are coming back.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's
with
awesome.
A bang.
That was, in my opinion, easily the best decade of country music for me. So, yeah, I'm glad it's back.
I was telling someone the other day that I've had to label myself the other Jim Brown because everyone thinks, oh, Jim Brown Moose. You wrote 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, or you're the football player.
But I'll take the check You know, but no, that's not me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was telling someone the other day that
I forget that his name is Jim Brown. Quite frankly,
yeah,
I just call him.
everybody calls him Moose.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I've had these big artists, these female artists, reach out to me in the past
To co-write.
Well, no, they'd already co-wrote with him, and I guess misplaced his number or didn't have a way to get in touch with him. So they reach out to me on Facebook, or they'll get my email off of my website, and they'll email me. And I got an email from Kelsey Ballerini last year that said, "Hey, Jim, this is Kelsey." And the way she spells her name, it doesn't say Kelsey;
Right,
it's
right.
Sia or something. And I was like, who in the world is this? Those songs that we wrote, I've only got 3 out of the 5. Can you send me the other 2? So I immediately called Jim and I said, hey, here's an email address. I don't want to embarrass this child. And I said, just say, hey, yeah, no problem. I'm using this email address now. You
Right.
know, contact me from here on out, whatever.
Wow.
And did that. And then after that, I had this female artist started saying that she was reaching out to some of the veterans of the industry, and she was wanting advice and asking this.
You could do that.
So I did, and I did not think that she was really not reaching out to me,
Yeah.
or reaching out to Moose or whatever. But so this got carried on, and I would sit up at night on my phone and responding to her deal, trying to give her the best advice that I had ever been given. You know, not something that come of my experiences, because I just think that some of the best advice is what you've been given by others.
Right.
And
One of
and
which
my
is
wife
never take advice from someone you haven't looked in the eye.
exactly.
And she was doing it.
Yeah, and my wife was going like, who is this chick?
Right.
You know, she was kind of like,
I
why are
could
you
see
sitting
that.
up every night?
I could see that.
Responding emails to her. And I said, I don't know. I said, I've never heard of her before. And I gave her the phone. And she goes, oh, I've heard of her. She's got an awesome song out. And I said, well, I haven't a clue who Lainey Wilson is.
It's hilarious.
And then I started listening to some of her music, and immediately I'm like, do not change what you're doing.
Call her up and ask for some advice.
You are opening the door for all of us in
Yeah.
the 90s again.
Yeah.
You are this person
She is.
that we've been dreaming and praying for.
Yeah.
And I thank you. Don't change a damn thing.
Yeah, you're good.
And so yesterday, I was working in the garage, and I had the music going, which I rarely listen to the radio because I'm not a huge fan of
why.
a lot of new stuff. But I started listening to the 95, and they play a lot of
Yeah.
my friends.
Yeah.
Guys that I know and I played on the road with, and this, that, and other. And then they played Laney's Watermelon Moonshine, and so I decided to take a break and listen to the words. And she wrote it. I don't know who the co-writers were. But man, what a cleverly written song!
Yeah.
The story was told so well.
Yeah.
There was nothing that you had a doubt about.
Yeah.
When it got to the chorus, and then the chorus, just as it's supposed to, summed it up.
Yeah.
And the second verse was better than the first.
There you go.
And I remembered when I listened to it, I was like, this is so well written.
Is there a bridge in that song?
I've only listened to it like 3 or 4
I can't
times all the
remember.
way
Me
through.
too.
But,
I'm not being able to think through it.
but the man I called my grandfather, which you were very
Right.
much affiliated with, Mr. Chestnut,
Yep.
he gave me so much musical advice, and he was like, a song is ruined more so than it is done justice
Yeah.
by trying to meet a deadline or, we got to do this in 2 or 3 hours. This is the only time we can get these 3 people together.
Yeah.
And he said, a song has to grow. It has to manifest it. The first verse has to be just grab a hold of you. The second verse has to even grab you and shake you.
Has to be better.
And he said, and the chorus finishes the story.
There's one caveat that I've heard people try to say it. I've never heard anybody say it as well. Reggie Ham,
I know the name.
really amazing, more pop writer, but brilliant, incredibly smart guy. He does he's got an online presence, gives people advice, he's writing songs, And he said something, it was last week, he said, okay, the bridge is the only part of a song that has to buy a ticket. You have to have a first verse. It gets on the train free. And you have to have a chorus. It gets on free. And there's kind of a mandatory second verse. It gets on free. And then you're going to repeat that chorus. The bridge has to buy a ticket. It has to have a reason. It has to have something in it that makes everybody go, oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to do that.
I agree.
Just never heard anybody say it like that before. It's good advice.
Well, I still strive every day to be a better writer. I think I'm more of an idealist, as my granddaddy used to say. He said, "Don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. Ideas is where they come from."
Yeah.
He said you could be an idealist and be a co-writer and you still get your percentage.
No, yeah. If you're in the room,
He said
it doesn't matter, does it?
He said, Lord, today, he said, they'll have somebody just call in an idea and they don't even show up to write and they still get their percentage.
If it's a good hook, that's the truth.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I've come up with a few of them.
Yeah.
So, well, did you bring your guitar with you today?
I don't go anywhere without it.
Well, then, there you go. We're gonna.
I didn't want to leave it in the car.
Well, no.
I didn't want somebody to steal it.
They do that around here?
They do. Yeah. Nashville. You got to be careful. Be careful in Nashville. Just telling you. Watch yourself. Especially in the Lower Broad.
Okay.
Bring a gun.
That explains the stink in my underwear that left.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, hey, why don't you, since we got the holidays coming up, there's this song that I really, really enjoy.
Oh, good grief, man. I got to learn that song again. I have to learn that stinking song every year, and now we're early enough in the soon-to-be season. Now I'll have to do it again. Dang it. Okay.
Well, that's okay. I'll
I
help
put too
you.
many chords in it.
That's okay.
If I had it to do again, I would not write
when
it.
we get to the, we'll just do a verse and a chorus.
Okay.
That's all right. When we get to the chorus, I'll
Still going to be the same amount of chords, you realize.
I
Okay.
do realize that, but you don't have to play them over and over again. So
Okay.
You only got to remember them once.
Yeah, but once I know them, I know them. I won't have to do this twice.
I'll jump in and sing along with you if you
Please
want me
don't.
to.
Don't.
No, don't want to run it.
Come on, weatherman, give us a forecast, snowy white. Can't you hear the prayers of every childlike heart tonight? Rockies are calling, Denver snowfall. Somebody said it's 4 feet deep. It doesn't matter, give me the laughter, I'm gonna choose to keep another tender Tennessee Christmas, the only Christmas for me, where the love circles around us like the gifts around our tree. Well, I know there's more snow up in Colorado than my roof will ever see, but a tender Tennessee Christmas is the only Christmas for me.
Well, how about that?
I almost remembered it.
Almost.
Yeah.
So what else have you got going on?
You know, there is a move afoot in Columbia, Tennessee that you may or may not be aware of. There's an amazing venue down there that I've admired from a distance for a while. That it's under some new ownership, and the lady that runs it is brilliant and visionary, and we have connected on several things. So I'm going to be busy down there doing a few different things. Okay. Looking forward to it. It's a blast. The most important thing that I do, honestly, at this point in my life, after growing up a preacher's kid in a Pentecostal church, and anytime I'd see something that was borderline demonic, which was rare, but when it happened, it always scared the crap out of me. And right this moment, I'm on a deliverance team that, with great regularity, sadly business is booming, with great regularity, I get to watch people go from near suicidal to complete joy, because God still does that. And it's an amazing thing to see that level of healing. It's incredible. It's easily the most rewarding thing that I do. And everything else kind of just waits in line for me to have fun doing it, because I decided a long time ago to not do things that I was not be able to look forward to doing. And if I did, to not repeat them. I actually have a file. It's on my computer. It's written down somewhere. More importantly, it's in my head. It's my LTS file, and it's got there's restaurants on there. There's some complete towns. Certainly a lot of hotels. There's sadly a significant number of people, and it's life's too short. I'm just not going to repeat that, and I live by that, and that makes life pretty joyful, because I'm old enough now that I've kind of narrowed it down to the things that I know are going to be fun, and that's what I do.
Well, that was my motto about a year ago, when I decided I was not going to do anything else unless it was fun.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
I've done all those things that are borderline this and borderline that.
Sure.
I like to run right up to the borderline nowadays and just dangle my feet off the edge.
Yeah.
And go, I know my limits, and I'm sitting on it.
I'm going to stay right there.
I got y'all from right here.
Good. No, that's good.
Somebody hand me a plate of food.
My wife and I adopted a little girl 11 years ago. Brought her home from the hospital. And so I told her at the time, this is going to either kill me, because I got a 37-year-old son, daughters 34 and 32 and 11. I said, this is either going to kill me, or it's going to put 30 or 40 good years on my life, because I am not going to be the old fart on the sideline yet. I'm not. So I started hitting it pretty hard. I'd always tried to stay in decent shape, because I just like to do a lot of different things that require, some amount of physical ability. But I started really hitting it because of her.
That's awesome.
And my 67-year-old self could whip my 30-year-old ass pretty bad. So
yeah.
I love it. I do love it. Yeah, she is.
You was in your 40s, I guess, when you lived up on the hill? You were trying to ride a camel?
Shoot. Man, don't make fun of my camel. That's the sweetest animal I've ever had.
I used to feed it potato chips through the window of my truck.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she liked Doritos, Lay's. She wasn't finicky.
She liked anything. That thing. She would do the same thing with a piece of plastic. So don't feel
beef
like she
jerky.
Liked
she liked
anything.
Beef jerky. I said, carnivore,
she
are you?
She would eat that microphone. I'm telling you, that thing would eat anything. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I remember the day you called me and you said that she was no longer with us. That looked like she'd been chased by some coyotes or something.
Down a very steep hill.
Broke her neck or
she
something.
Did.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Camille.
What was her name?
Camille
the camel.
Yeah.
There you go, Camille.
The saddest part of it for me was that I had a plan. She was 6 years old when she died. We got her as a baby. She was literally that high. And I was going to, that was the year that she'd be old enough to do two things. A, be ridden, because her legs are not really strong enough till about then. They look like it, but you don't want to do that. You can hurt them. And then the other thing was that she would be able to give birth. So I had an arrangement with the Nashville Zoo. They were going to, handle that piece of it. And it was going to be a fun experience. And, get a baby, Camille, yeah. But the riding part, that house, if you'll remember, it was the end of a dead-end road. And at the other end of that dead-end road was a Kroger.
Yeah.
On Highway 100. And I was going to get on that Kroger, or get on that camel, and ride to Kroger tie her up out front, go in and get a 6-pack of beer, and get back on her and ride her home and have it all filmed. It was going to be my tribute to George Jones riding his lawnmower. And
or Toby Keith's beer for my horses.
I did not get to do it, and that's a sad thing. That's a very sad thing.
Yeah. I was really, I was nervous the first day I pulled up there, and she just walked right up to the truck and just stuck her head right down at me.
Very friendly. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they get a bad rap, deservedly so, quite frankly. They can be very mean.
She licked my windshield like 3 times before I rolled it down, and I said, beef jerky?
Yeah, how about some jerky? No, you don't want one of them to bite you. It's a very bad event. And if you've ever seen one of them get in a fight with something, they don't lose. But the reality is, if you treat, they're like pretty much anything else that's breathing. If you treat them kindly and they don't ever know anything else,
they'll treat you kindly
just
back.
as sweet as you can be. I suspect that if I was abused by a Bedouin, since I was born, I would be nasty to deal with. I'd be testy.
Yeah.
But no, she was great. Sweet, sweet animal. Now you've talked me into it. I'm going to get another camel.
Yeah, we're keeping it downtown Franklin.
Absolutely.
Right to the
riding
post
around the
office.
square.
Oh, man. I tell you what,
Life is meant for those moments, dude. It is. If you go to the grave without a few good stories, you have screwed up.
Yeah, my son and daughter-in-law have a Jack, and they named him Jack. Yeah. And my daughter, which you got to meet not long ago, a granddaughter, excuse me, she loves Jack to death, and I'm so scared because a mule or donkey, they bite,
real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she walks down there, and he'll just lay them ears back and close his eyes. It's like he knows.
They know. They do.
That she's little.
They know.
And she just thinks the world of that darn, donkey. And it's just, I've still, got that grandpa.
Oh, you're going to have to, well, you can't
Let me go with you. Let me go with you. And buddy, she got to see her at feeding time. They carry my bucket of sweet feed every afternoon.
Right.
When her daddy gets home, and she lives for that.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's what having an animal is. It's responsibility. Mm-hmm. And it graduates you for life. Everything that we do, I think, as a child, in that category, really sets you up. I mean, you got to have your education. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But chores set me up for life. I knew I had to do that to get to this point.
Yeah, there's a bunch of lessons you learn. And I mean, I grew up in a small town, but it was farming community. All my early life work was farming, and I wanted my kids, my oldest group of kids, all grew up on farm. Because the reality is, in addition to the responsibility, which is very important, if you got a cow giving birth and she's having trouble, it doesn't matter how big a star mama is. Doesn't matter who Papa knows. You can't buy it right.
Oh, no.
It's either going to work, you're going to do your best. They saw me pull a few calves and it worked, and I pulled a few that didn't. You can't buy joy. The real joy that you see when you observe real life, you can't buy it.
No.
You just have to look for it, and then when you find it, embrace it, and then start looking for it again. And it's all around you.
Those I call first.
Mm-hmm.
Those are first.
Yeah.
The first time you seen it, the first time that this happened, the first time they took a step, the first time they uttered a word.
Yeah.
I call those first. And if you don't give that to a child, and that's just time. That's all it is. Yeah. Like you said, you can't buy a first back. You might get to hear it second or third time, but the first time, and that's the reason.
It requires your presence.
That's the reason I walked away from the industry, as you well know. I've told you the story. I walked away. I mean, I had a record deal set up. I was actually deer hunting in Alabama, and I got a phone call, and my son's mother said, I went to get put on birth control so we could do this radio tour. And I said, awesome. She said, but they won't let me. I said, why? And she said, I'm pregnant. And so I had to make a choice right then. You know, my dad worked 3 jobs to put a roof over our head, food in our mouths, and I never saw him hardly.
Yeah.
You know, and when I did, he was tired and angry.
I get it.
And my mom was the one that taught me, you know, how to play basketball and how to throw a baseball and how to throw a football and that sort of thing. And I got to thinking about it, sitting there in the tree stand, and I said, I got to break the cycle.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that on the road?
Yeah, you can't.
And
unless you take him with you. That's what I did.
I called I called my attorney, who still today is one of my closest friends, and I said, John, I said, how does that deal look? He said, looks great. It's got you tied up for about 7 years. I said, well, that's gives us time for improvement. I said, however, I said, tell him we're going to pass. And he sit there just like, you know, waiting for the punchline, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, he said, well, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going to take the deal. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I said, I've just found out I'm going to be a dad. And he was such an awesome friend, not just my attorney, but an awesome friend. Man, I think that's awesome. He said, you can come back to this one day.
That's great.
And the run to that whole deal was, I got to be there for all the first.
Mm-hmm.
The first words, the first steps, the first crawls, the first football game, the first basketball game, the first baseball. I got to coach.
Mm-hmm.
I got to coach my son in all those sports. It's just, I got to take him to school every day and pick him up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when I say almost every day.
I do it every morning.
And then when I became a single dad, when he was 10,
mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the biggest fear of my life. But me and the Lord did it.
Yeah.
And then I was blessed again with my wife that I'm married to now. And she came in with so much love that it overwhelmed him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just enthralled with that. And that made life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
So the final ding ding, I guess, for that until I have grandchildren from him was 4 years ago when he stepped in and took over my business
mm-hmm.
that I had run for 40 years, and is doing it without fail.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing.
It's awesome.
And I still get a phone call about once or twice a week, sometimes 3 times. Hey, Dad, I got a question about this,
mm-hmm.
which tells me that he listened. Because
Yeah.
I always said, son, there's no dumb question if you don't know the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being there for those first is amazing. You, like you just said, you can't buy those back.
No.
There's not an amount of money that could buy those back.
Yeah, we decided early on to just take them. All my kids, my older kids, all learned to walk on a tour bus.
No,
they have incredible balance.
I can say
seriously.
that's a feat in itself. I'm still learning how to pee on a tour bus.
We used to have we had games. We had a thing called bus surfing that you'd start at the back and you had to do heel to toe. You know, you can't touch anything. You got to do heel to toe as far as you can, and then pivot and go back. And nobody ever made it the whole way because, you know, the driver would cause somebody to fall. He was actually in charge.
Yeah,
turns out.
I was just to say. I always tell the drivers, especially if I'm having to ride, because a lot of times I drive, but I always tell them, I said, look, dude, number one rule I learned, if it's a foot up here, it's 2 foot in the back. If it's 6 inches here, it's a foot in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, let's don't get going on bus stories. I've got way too many.
Well, with that being said, what is the one story that you have that has been the most outlandish story that you've ever been involved in on the road?
Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord, that is a bigger story. That is a bigger list. That's easy and hard to narrow down to the best one. We were talking about buses. I'll tell you my best bus story. Yeah, maybe. It's close. It's very close. Had the same driver for many years. You know, it's like family. Great guy. And it was the family bus. You know, it was me and Amy and 3 kids and a nanny, you know, for when we're on stage or whatever. And there was just this ritual that happened. We'd do the show, get on the bus, you know, the kids stayed awake to say goodnight, and, you know, we'd have some pizza or whatever. and then everybody would all go to sleep but me. And I would go down and sit in the jump seat down front, and David, I would just dissect the world. We talked about everything for hours. I love the road at night. I just love it. It's just it's a really peaceful thing for the most part, unless the weather's
Yeah, all the truckers are off the sides, and you just that's my best time to drive.
Just keep going, baby. Just go.
It's cool. The motor doesn't overheat.
Everybody's happy. So we had a ritual that we never discussed, but it developed, and it was fairly rigid. I would sit down. I'd usually get a cup of coffee. Say, "You want some coffee?" Yeah, I'd get some coffee. He'd have a cup of coffee, and we'd sit there and talk. "You want some more coffee? You want anything?" He'd either say yes or no, and then I'd get something else. And then after a while, I'd be like, "Hey, man, I'm going to go to bed here in a second. You want me to drive for a minute while you go to the bathroom?" And you know how it is. You can easily, if you're not an idiot, you can stand up and hold on to it, just swap out, and nobody's hurt. Nothing's it's not dangerous. It just happens. And then he would do his business and then come back, and we'd reverse that process, and I'd go to bed. So one night, I don't know, I didn't pre-plan it, but when I thought of it, it was like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. It was a 2 coffee night. I got him a cup of coffee, and then we talked longer, and I got him another cup of coffee, and we talked longer. And then with little to no warning, I just got up and said, "Man, I'm beat. I'm out of here." And I just got up and went back to the room in the back and waited. I knew it wouldn't be long. I knew it would not be long that he would have to go to the bathroom. It was literally maybe 5 minutes.
Had 2 cups of coffee.
Maybe 5 minutes. And I hear the bus start to slow down. It's gearing down. Then I hear that gravel on the right side tires, and I'm like, okay. And then finally it stops. And I listen. It comes on. I hear that bathroom door close, and I just gently scooted up to the front and slipped that thing in gear and started going. He peed on everything from that bathroom all over the front lounge. I mean,
he left it in drive.
Absolutely. It had popped into gear somehow, and life was about to end. It was going, across the median and hit a truck. Whatever goes through your mind at that moment all went through his head. Man, he got up there and saw me, and he was still needing to go to the bathroom. It was...
More so.
Oh, yeah. More so. And then he wanted to pee on me.
Oh, yeah, I would have.
We would
have played swords right then.
We were really good friends, and it was days before he got over it. He was so mad at me.
Oh, wow.
He was furious, and it was good. It was a good moment.
Well, with that being said, let's end it right there.
Sure.
And we'll both just look at the camera and go, man, I hope it's true.
I know it's true, but I hope it's true.
He said it, I didn't.